I came across this article on campus reform recently that got me thinking about hate speech. But I've got a quick sponsor to plug to you first. I'll see you in a minute. In 2000 and current year, it's really important to keep your body healthy all the time. Collagen may be the closest thing we'll ever get to the so-called fountain of youth, while also forming a wall of defense between your immune system and the rest of your body. A lot of health experts now agree that consuming collagen is crucial when it comes to renewing and revitalizing how you look and feel. The older you are, the more likely it's caught your attention, and for good reason. After all, collagen is the most abundant protein in your body and is essentially the glue that holds you together. In fact, after age 20, people produce about 12% less collagen in their skin each decade, and for some, it's an even greater decline. This means by the time you're middle-aged, you could be producing less than half of the collagen you did in your youth. Even worse, various lifestyle factors you may have been exposed to, like poor diet, smoking, pollution, stress, and excess sun exposure, can deplete your collagen levels even faster. So visit my page at healthwithbear.com and secure your supply of the only collagen on the market I trust. Link in the description. It goes. First Amendment experts criticise university's vague hate speech policy. Davenport University's Student Conduct Code bans hate speech during on-campus protests. The document does not define what constitutes as hate speech. Yeah, that's because not many people do. It goes on. Davenport University, a private institution in Michigan, categorises hate speech as harassment in its Student Conduct Code. However, the document does not define what constitutes hate speech. Yeah, see, if hate speech is categorised as harassment, then being harassment, wouldn't it have to happen repeatedly? Like not just once? The Student Conduct Code outlines the school's policies for student protests, while stating that demonstrations may not perpetuate hate speech, intimidation, harassment, discrimination, or create an unsafe environment for those participating or not participating in the demonstration or protest. Therese Trump, no relation I'm sure, Executive Director of Speech First, told Campus Reform that Davenport's desire to censor students becomes more apparent when you see the subjective terms they use to describe restricted speech, such as speech that causes discomfort, or statements that are considered aggressive or intimidating. So statements that cause discomfort are being categorised as hate speech. You can see the problem there, right? It's going to be used willy-nilly as a weapon to silence people that those in charge don't agree with. Campus Reform spoke with Davenport University student David Lukzik about the university's policy. I think that it's very comforting. I think it's a very comforting liberal-leaning decision that was made and herds a majority of people to just go along with it without realising what it actually means, he said. Likewise, Trump stated that Davenport pays lip service to students' right to free speech. So there we go, it's another airy-fairy bullshit definition of hate speech. It's basically whatever the fuck we want it to be. If we want to crack down on you and we don't like you, fuck you, you've done hate speech. And so it got me thinking about this whole Elon Musk Twitter buyout and how the EU are threatening to ban Twitter if they don't toe Europe's hate speech line. So this article from The Insider says Elon Musk says he'll match the law when it comes to free speech. But here's what you need to know about the EU's content regulations. Elon Musk said his version of Twitter will protect free speech, but also abide by the law. Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, presumably he means the American law, as that's where Twitter operates from. However, Twitter operates in the EU, which has imposed new rules on content moderation, because of course they have, that's what the EU does. A clash between Musk's idea of free speech and the EU regulations could hurt Twitter financially. Yeah, or get it banned outright. So I thought I'd have a look at Twitter's hate speech conduct policy. It says, hateful conduct. You may not promote violence against or directly attack or threaten other people on the basis of race, ethnicity, national origin, caste, sexual orientation, gender, gender identity, religious affiliation, age, disability, or serious disease. We also do not allow accounts whose primary purpose is inciting harm towards others on the basis of these categories. Yeah, okay, so this is the current policy. I wonder if this is going to change when Elon takes over. It'd be good to see it say, just obey the law, you know, something like that. Hateful imagery and display names. You may not use hateful images or symbols in your profile image or profile header. Okay, so what's a hateful image? I mean, there's a million accounts on Twitter with the hammer and sickle as their profile header or their profile image. I consider that hateful and harmful. Why aren't they banned? I mean, you can bet your bottom dollar if some fucker put up a swastika as their image, they'd be banned straight away. Even if it was one of those old swastikas, you know, the one that was meant to mean peace or something. You also may not use your username, display name, or profile bio to engage in abusive behaviour, such as targeted harassment or expressing hate towards a person, group, or protected category. You see, this is one of those cases where the term is in the definition. What is hate? Well, it's expressing hate. Okay, well, what is hate? It's expressing hate towards a person, group, or protected category. Well, what's hate? It's expressing hate, etc., 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 and so on and so on. Let's look at Facebook's hate speech policy. It says, we believe that people use their voice and connect more freely when they don't feel attacked on the basis of who they are. This is why we don't allow hate speech on Facebook. It creates an environment of intimidation and exclusion, and in some cases may promote offline violence. Well, I think if someone is directly inciting violence, you could call that hate speech. I mean, if hate speech is to exist, then surely that would be it. Not insults and teasing and criticism. For fuck's sake, we're adults, grow up. We define hate speech as a direct attack against people, rather than concepts or institutions, on the basis of what we call protected characteristics. Race, ethnicity, national origin, blah 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 blah, all the same shit as Twitter. We define attacks as violent or dehumanising speech, harmful stereotypes, statements of inferiority, expressions of contempt, disgust or dismissal, cursing and calls for exclusion or segregation, insults, expressions of contempt or dismissal. See, that could mean just about anything. If you don't like someone and you push back at them in any way, that could be called hate speech. And that, my friends, is why we have such a lopsided social media environment, because it's all run by lefties. And so in their subjective opinion, whenever a conservative or someone right of centre uses an insult or dismisses someone, God forbid, it can be just thrown in that hate speech category, and then you can throw the ban hammer at them. It's simple. But going back to the whole EU Twitter thing, I remember this case last year where a professor at a university was being prosecuted for a study that they did. Now, the study was about sexual assault and rape in Sweden, and they found that over 50% of cases were committed by people from outside of Sweden. Now, this was based on fact. This was based on statistics and numbers. Yet, because it didn't go with mainstream political discourse, it was deemed to be hate speech. So is that what's going to be expected of Twitter? They've got to agree that 2 + 2 = 5? Are they going to be penalised or even banned for allowing people to speak the truth? Just quickly, this article says, Sweden's Lund University researcher faces prosecution for study that showed most rapes are committed by immigrants. During the data analysis, the researchers found that out of 3,039 offenders included in the study, 59.2% were immigrants. Out of these, 47.7% were born outside of Sweden. Professor Kristina Sundqvist of Lund University, Sweden, and 2 of her colleagues are facing prosecution by the Board of Appeal for Ethical Review, a body that reports to the Swedish Ministry of Education. The reason behind the investigation initiated by the body is the research paper that was submitted by Sundqvist that shows most rapes that happened in Sweden were committed by immigrants. Okay, so she's a professor. She's done her research. She's using statistics, presumably. She's a professor. Yet she's still dragged over the coals because it doesn't go with mainstream political discourse. And that is the crux of the problem. We're headed to this point where hate speech can basically mean you don't agree with the majority. You don't agree with mainstream political discourse. And that is fucking scary. Anyway, this video is a bit all over the place, but I'm going to leave it there. It's something to really be concerned about, and I think we need to keep up the conversation. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. Recession, session. Give me better times, give me better times. Recession, session.